So let me kind of begin. Firstly, my name is JP Hunt, one of the co-founders here at InkSoft. And the title of today's webinar, and really the marketing kit that's associated to this webinar, is branded as Here for Good 2.0, Boxed Up Local Pride. So what I'm going to do is give some background and context so everybody has an understanding of the real meaning behind Here for Good and how you can relate that to this new concept in local community fundraising. So let's go through our agenda really quickly to make sure we are all squared away. First things first, as I mentioned, I'm going to give some background on the Here for Good program because there's still a lot of application for the Here for Good fundraising program. In fact, at the end of today's webinar, you can really choose between a few ways to go to market for local community fundraising. So I want to make sure you understand what really started it all. And then I want to really paint the picture of why this new program is different and some of the upside and advantages to the Boxed Up Local program. Then we'll talk about strategy, which is sort of the why, and we'll get into the tactics. And those are the specific actions that you'll use to get underway with these campaigns and programs in your local community. Then I'll share some sort of pro tips that you should think about or maybe consider. And these are definitely options, but something to give you thought as you move into these programs. Then I want to conclude with really showing you how you can deploy and take full advantage of the marketing kit that's available with this program. And then we'll conclude with some Q&A as mentioned earlier. Okay, so let's dive into the background and really talk about what started it all, and that is the Here for Good program. So if you can remember when COVID first got underway, and of course local communities were negatively impacted as lockdown orders in local communities were enacted in many communities, an InkSoft customer had decided that she was not content on sitting by and watching her friends who own local businesses in the local community, struggle, and she wanted to roll up her sleeves and help. So Here for Good started as a fundraising initiative that's super, super simple. One InkSoft powered online fundraising store where you would select a premium t-shirt and do a single color print to represent all the local businesses that wanted to participate and take advantage in this fundraising program. So a premium product is important because you want to compel consumers and really educate them they're getting extra value. This is no basic t-shirt. This is a really premium fashion fit, comfortable t-shirt you'll have forever. And the other component is, hey, you get to buy a t-shirt for your local favorite business or businesses to pledge your support to them. And the way this program would work is it was a simple revenue share program, a 50-50 split. Hey, when you purchase a t-shirt to, again, support a local business that you love, like the coffee roastery, the yoga studio, the business will get $10 from every purchase. And then our small business, the print shop in our local community, will be the beneficiary of the other. So with one purchase, you're supporting two businesses. Now, this program was a total win. And thank goodness, this spread like wildfire, and InkSoft customers really embraced this. And I think it was a really important part in helping businesses in our industry, apparel decorators, print shop, promotional product distributors, survive in the early days of COVID. But meanwhile, you were doing some good in your local community. Now, why does this program work? And this is really an important point I want to underscore because we're going to take this knowledge into this new iteration of this local community fundraising program. Why it worked is all about alignment. So you're taking a need, right? Local businesses have a need to fundraise because, again, their business is being negatively impacted, right? And it's aligning that need with your capabilities. And of course, your capabilities are to source products, to embellish and decorate and be creative with branded products. So you take this need for local fundraising with your capabilities, and it's a total win. And this isn't something many businesses can do in their local communities. So it's truly special. And it's been amazing to see all the local press coverage that InkSoft customers received as they launched these programs and got the attention of local media, which is a part of the marketing formula that we'll talk about to make the most of these programs. So I do want to point out that there is a marketing kit for the Here for Good program, like you're seeing now. One InkSoft store, invite local businesses to participate. There's no cost to them. They just stand to benefit. But what they'll do is they're going to promote their products on your fundraising store, and they'll promote that everywhere to drive their fans and supporters to pledge support and participate. So by all means, you can certainly leverage this program because it works, it's been proven. But we want to share some new insights that I think will give you some additional contemplation that will help you increase your average order value, of course, your fundraising output. And of course, that's super important, right? So let's move into the next contemplation here, which is the strategy that's involved with the Boxed Up Local Pride program and sort of how it's different and how it's unique. So let's kind of go into this point by point. So first and foremost, let's talk about the need. The need hasn't changed, right? As there's lockdown orders or as there's quarantine, every local community is negatively impacted, right? Small businesses are doing their damnedest to try to survive, right? They're getting creative, and we've seen some really amazing, sort of creative results in even our local community here in Phoenix, Tempe, Scottsdale, Arizona. So with that said, the need is businesses really need additional streams of revenue, and they need ways to really tap into their customer base to drive fundraising results, right? So every community has this in common. That's the need. So what's the intent of this fundraising program? Well, really, it's to amplify this notion of, every local community right now is really helping to support one another. And there's been some amazing stories being reported about how people are coming together and supporting one another. Because again, and we all live in local communities, right? And there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of duty, ownership, responsibility that goes along in, the human condition, right? We're tribal species, right? So with that said, the intent here is to really leverage this notion of local love, local community pride, a sense of, coming together and surviving and, strong, and using branded products to really help drive and amplify that emotion. But really the context here is to fundraise. And I'm going to unpack a lot more of this in detail. Now, the next contemplation here is the product, right? So part of the strategy must consider, well, what is the product? What is the delivery for the product, right? So here is how this program, Boxed Up Local Pride, is different from Here for Good. What we're doing is we're advocating the notion of merch boxes. So think, if you can design a complete series, maybe 1, 2, or 3, or it's your choice. But if you have a merch box that might have a sticker to commemorate local pride, maybe there's a T-shirt, maybe there's drinkware, there's just an array of different items, and you can package those up so you can go to market with a $49 product versus selling a singular T-shirt. So a box provides more value, and we'll unpack all of this, but also gives you context to focus on selling a premium product at a higher price point. So you have more margin, you have greater revenue share opportunity, and it's differentiated. It's different from maybe previous Here for Good fundraising initiatives that you might have already done in your local community. So imagine going back to all the people that purchased in your initial wave of Here for Good, if you participated there, and now marketing something new and being excited about that. Everybody loved this program. Now we're bringing something new that has more value. These boxes are jam-packed with really cool branded merchandise. And in fact, there's even room to throw in non-branded products. In fact, I read an interesting, I believe it was on Washington Post, about how local communities were packaging in unique products that were crafted in the community. So think, if there's a really unique mustard, right? That's really unique to the community. It's sold in sandwich shops. People love it. People that are maybe expats, they move outside of the community. They might order that in because they love it, right? So think about even packaging in other items from other merchants in your community to build these boxes. But the bottom line is with these merch boxes is the focus must be on local pride and local, again, love branded items, right? That's what's going to make this program super unique, is we're messaging that we're bringing the community together for good. Now, what is the delivery? Well, of course, the delivery is going to be a branded InkSoft powered online fundraising store. And this is the easiest and best context for selling right now. So what was the theme and what was the main takeaway from 2021? E-commerce is ruling the day. Contactless delivery. Every consumer now is ordering goods and groceries and products from home and having them delivered. So the best way to execute and deliver this program is, of course, through an online branded fundraising store powered by InkSoft. Now, the other consideration here as we look at strategies, well, who is the audience? What are the sales targets and opportunities? Now, of course, that's going to be local consumers that live in the local community. But there's also application to engage with small, medium businesses, large corporations and forming partnerships with other organizations like nonprofits. And we'll kind of break all of this down because there's multiple ways to utilize this strategy. It's not a sort of one size fits all or very rigid. In fact, it's awfully flexible. And I'm going to pause for a moment to take a drink of my tea and cross promote Shirt Show. I don't know if you folks are tuning in to Shirt Show, but it's a new industry podcast. And two InkSoft customers are running this podcast, and it's an amazing way to learn insights and be involved in some conversation. So I did want to pause to take a drink, but I also wanted to pause to talk about our friends at Shirt Show because they're doing awesome things with their podcast. So make sure to subscribe to the Shirt Show. All right, so let's move on now. Now that we've talked about strategy, let's get into tactics and let's break down the very specific things that we're going to do to go to market successfully with this program. So we talked about merch boxes, but I want to go a level deeper and I want to talk about as you're thinking about putting together merch boxes for these local pride programs, you got to be intentional and be very careful to curate and really select the right products to bundle into these boxes. So when I say curate, it's being very intentional to look at what's popular right now, what's trending, of course, contemplating the weather in your local community. So being mindful of all the things that, would align with consumers. But in terms of relevancy, what else is really relevant right now? Face coverings, right? Face masks are the other major thing that we learned in 2020 was a source of revenue opportunity, was a source of, again, taking a need and pairing that with capabilities. So think about as you construct these merch boxes, what products make sense now? And there's now another layer of complexity, right? Suppliers are struggling with inventory, right? The whole value chain has been disrupted given we're facing a global pandemic. So of course, being very thoughtful about what suppliers have solid inventory levels, what products print well, what sells well, what's trending popular, all of those things that but contemplate that alongside of what's relevant right now, right? So face coverings, I think sanitizing products would be a no-brainer. And again, maybe even step outside to say what local merchants are producing really cool products that are beloved in our community that people know and recognize, right? And maybe there's an opportunity to have them participate, so you can, purchase at wholesale some of these products and bundle them in. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Next consideration is graphic themes. So as you're constructing the messages behind your support local, community pride, stronger, together, this notion of building back, really take care to consider, the right message, right? And the right imagery, the right iconography. So your community probably has very unique symbology or colorways that really resonate with the local community, right? So I've used this example before. We're in the Sonora Desert in the desert Southwest. So in Scottsdale, we identify with things like the saguaro cactus and the coyote howling at the moon. So be very thoughtful and intentional with what is the imagery that you can use and what is the message you can use to really, again, unify your local community and get them excited about using that as a badge of honor, a badge of community celebration and support when they're rocking, all the branded products that are going to get in their really sweet merch kit. Now, we've, of course, mentioned in delivery, we're going to use online stores. So you're going to set up a dedicated and branded online fundraising store. And you're going to be very careful and thoughtful as you set this up because it's going to be the recipient of a lot of web traffic as you begin to promote these programs and as you get local press coverage. So think in terms of spending the right time to set up this store, knowing it's going to be the nexus of not only commerce, but also media and social promotion. Now, the last point I want to make here is, as I've sort of already teed up, this notion of reaching out to local media outlets and, of course, leveraging social coverage by asking people, hey, the way you can make this fundraising program a success beyond purchasing, you can share this with your friends and family and coworkers. You can even buy gifts, as a way to help, this program. So you're going to ask local media for coverage saying, hey, we're doing a fundraising program in our local community and we need assistance in getting the word out. And make sure, this is one thing we learned with Here for Good, is make sure to develop that relationship and keep that story alive. So it's one thing to get press coverage to say, this local print business is doing this really amazing fundraising program in support of our local community, and here's how you can learn more about it. But it's another thing to maintain a relationship to go back and say, hey, we hit our first fundraising milestone. Can we get some coverage on that? So it's keeping the story alive and it's getting consummate coverage. And I can tell you, media right now is really concerned with positive coverage, especially in local communities, given there's enough negative things to talk about, right? Everybody's exhausted from all the negative press that's going on. So this is truly uplifting and newsworthy, right? So maintain that relationship, and that will become useful in the future as you do more fundraising programs. And again, social coverage. Ask all of your consumers and customers, help make this a success. And there's two ways you can do that: purchase and share with people in our community to get the word out. It's our duty and responsibility to help out businesses in our community. So again, we're going to leverage this notion of urgency and need. And this is a really special thing. This is a very unique circumstance that we all are faced with. So we need to leverage that message, not be abusive, but again, a call to action must invoke the emotions and the urgency of helping businesses so they can be here for good. And again, I'm going to bring that full circle back to the notion of here for good. That's sort of the subtext behind that title. When this is all said and done and everybody's vaccinated to a high degree and we can, sort of return to life as normal, which I think will happen, hopefully in short order, we need to support local businesses. So when we do, return to normal, that they still exist. So with that said, there is some urgency and emotion that we can invoke to make this program a success. Now, I promise we're almost done with the nerdy presentation, and we'll move on to some practical matters, and of course, get into your Q&A. So let me share with you some pro tips. These are things to consider, but they're not mandatory. They're certainly optional, but I think they can provide a lot of value. So things to contemplate: good, better, best. This is a marketing practice that I generally talk about every opportunity I get. So I can tell you, I've read a lot about pricing strategy, and any kind of merchandising strategy relates to offering three options, right? It's called bracketing: good, better, and best. Consumers oftentimes, as data tells us and informs us, consumers will oftentimes select from better because the assumption is that it's a compromise between quality and price and value. So when you're constructing these merch boxes, contemplate offering varying price points, maybe a $29 merch box, a $49, $79, whatever price points you think would be suitable to your local market. I can tell you, when I'm establishing price points, I need to be contemplative of my local market. So Scottsdale might be a lot different from, say, Columbus, Ohio. So be very thoughtful about what's happening in your local community, different personas and shoppers. But with that said, think about constructing a good, better, best option, right? And let consumers choose what's suitable to them. It's all about options at the end of the day. Now, at the same time, if you're constructing these boxes, which are a complement of individual items, think about offering some, maybe not all of those individual items separately and making those available as a la carte. So maybe the t-shirt, the hoodie, the beanie that's going to be available in the merch boxes, you're going to sell those as standalone. So maybe a consumer is not really interested in buying a $49 merch box, but they really want that beanie and they really want to participate and support this campaign and this fundraising cause. Well, you're going to give them the path to purchase an individual product. Now, I would refrain from offering all of the products. That might be the context and, maybe the sort of urgency to get them to get the consumer to purchase a box, because maybe some of those items are truly unique and exclusive to a merch box. So they'll have to make the decision if they really want those items. They might be inclined to get the box because it's not available separately. Now let's talk about freemiums and value adds. And I think this is a great way to bring some more enhancement and more value and more promotion to the notion of your merch boxes. But maybe you can consider offering a free or even a unique product to enhance these merch boxes. So back to the example of, maybe there's a local vendor, and I'm going to use the example that again was in, I believe it was again, Washington Post or Wall Street Journal, with a mustard, a small business that produced mustard that's beloved, and I believe it was in Baltimore. So that said, maybe you could buy, a unique product at wholesale so you can directly support a local business. And maybe that wholesale price is low enough, maybe it's $5. You might be able to add that jar of mustard to one of your merch boxes to enhance the value, right? And maybe you can market that as, hey, when you purchase this merch box, you're going to get a free X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's an upgrade, freemium. Maybe it's going from a basic product to a premium product. So there's a lot of application and opportunities to use the notion of freemiums or value adds to enhance and make your merch boxes appear more attractive, add extra value. Now, the next contemplation, we're talking about creating merch boxes. And we're serious about creating a merch box, branding the box, adding value to the box. And we know some of the best marketers and the most successful retail businesses like Apple, there's an awful lot of thought and time that goes into the packaging, the unboxing experience. So make sure to take care and create boxes that are going to, represent value. So when the consumer receives the package, their purchase is validated, they feel great about it, and they're going to be inclined to create an Instagrammable moment. So think about when you get a product that you're really excited about and you have a network of people that are probably interested in that product, what do? Well, you take the supercomputer that's in your pocket, right? The micronized supercomputer that has, 4K or above, video recording, and you create an Instagrammable type of experience that you can share. So with that said, take care to really craft the box and the packaging, and with the intention of knowing that consumers are going to be contemplative of that unboxing experience, and they're likely to share that, and that's going to add some extra value. And in fact, I put a quote here. This is a famous quote that's in every marketing textbook. The medium is the message. And so with that said, the box that's really the medium, the format for the products that are in that box, that's really the message, right? That's going to really speak to validating what the consumer, again, is experiencing, whether they're purchasing or unboxing. Now, let's talk about the two models. And I think this is really an important consideration here. And again, there's a lot of flexibility with this program. It's not super rigid. You can really sort of make it this, really make this your own. But I think there's two principal models to think about when we're fundraising. There's a revenue share model. And back to the example I gave you earlier with the Here for Good consideration. Hey, it's a $20 shirt. $10 will go to the local business that you're pledging support to, and then $10 will go to our small business in the community. So that's a really simple proposition, right? And it's simple to do when you have a singular product like a $20 t-shirt. The other consideration that you might think about is another way to go to market with these fundraising programs is to say, hey, consumers, support our local community, show community pride, help boost morale, and wear these branded products in our local community. Show that we're united. Well, the other way to think about fundraising is maybe doing it on a community donation basis. So you might, to be very simple, you might say, when you purchase a merch box, you're going to get these great products and you get to show your pride in our community. You're also going to go on to help support, these three local organizations that have always done good and are a very important part of our local community. So Boys and Girls Club, think about all the nonprofits and all the organizations in the local community that are important and need help now more than ever. So you can think about this in two ways. You can either do a revenue share back with local small businesses. That's one approach. And I don't think anybody would argue that there's one best way to do this. The other approach, which I think might be simpler, might be a community donation type of approach. You might choose to use the two in tandem. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. But let's talk about specifically how you can do the revenue share approach. And I'm going to share a real world example with you to give you insights, but I want to make sure we make this very clear. So think about, here's kind of a model, right? Revenue share. What you're going to do is sort of take the Here for Good approach, and you're going to get local businesses to help promote this fundraiser, this local community fundraiser. So think, if I'm a coffee shop and I'm going to say, hey, coffee shop patrons, we all love our local community and all the small businesses. We're one of those. Share pride in our local community by purchasing from this small print shop, who's a great friend of ours. When you purchase, make sure to select us as the business when checking out, because we'll receive, X% of all transactions. So again, this is one way to go to market, by letting every business be a marketer for you and receive revenue share as a result. So the way you do this technically is, of course, the business will promote the fundraiser and they'll advocate, hey, consumers, make sure to select us in the dropdown when checking out. So inside of InkSoft, you can create custom checkout fields. And a really simple way to execute this is put a required custom checkout field that says, please select the local business to receive a donation. And again, that dropdown will have all the local businesses that are participating in promoting this boxed up local fundraising program. And you can use that as context to make sure you're tracking, and you, of course, are going to use that tracking to do payouts. Now, of course, in terms of payouts, you can determine your own payout schedule. The Here for Good program and framework was a rapid payout schedule. So whether it be weekly, maybe it's twice a week, maybe it's monthly, But think about local businesses could benefit from every penny of cash flow. So maybe think about that cadence, maybe on a 2-week cycle, potentially monthly cycle. It's entirely up to you. But make sure you communicate these things in advance to create proper expectations with all of your fundraising clients. Now let's talk about the donation model. Again, the kind of contrasting the two. The donation model is, hey, let's all roll up our sleeves and support our local community. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to buy this really cool branded merch that you get to use, again, as a badge, as a way to show that you are a participant, you care. And then a percent of proceeds from all transactions will go to supporting these organizations. Or maybe you're going to single out a range of businesses, that maybe are really the most impacted in the local community. So again, there's a few ways to do this. But technically, in terms of managing and tracking, you can use the fundraising component inside of InkSoft. And you can use this as a way to educate and showcase and build urgency. Hey, we're almost at our first milestone goal, which is $100,000 raised. So by signaling to consumers, here is where we're at and here's our goal, this is a great inducement to getting people to participate in fundraising, maybe adding an extra quantity to give as a gift or send to a family member. So I don't know if you participated, but this is archived on our blog. We did a whole science-backed fundraising tips. So we dug into what science has to say about fundraising, and there's a lot of things that science can tell us, in particular psychology, about altruism. And the point is, by displaying fundraising performance, it's a powerful beacon and signal and communicator to getting consumers to really participate by feeling like they're obligated and they can really make a difference, right? Because it's visible, it's demonstrated. And again, with this program, payout schedule, determine a payout schedule, communicate that in clear terms, so you're creating proper expectations. All righty, let's continue to make progress here. I want to talk about how you can best deploy the marketing kit. And for those of you that are not familiar, I'm going to assume there's some new listeners and folks tuning in. So when COVID first struck, we turned our marketing team loose on creating these marketing kits, which is the thesis was, hey, our customers need every bit of help to be successful in a really challenging economy. So we already provide them with a technology platform. So e-commerce is an important thing right now. How do we help them with, giving them direction in terms of here's a sales opportunity. Here's how you actually deploy that sales opportunity. So marketing kit for us was really unpacking a strategy, but then giving you turnkey marketing copy, some email marketing copy, social media copy, call to action, website content, even in many cases, graphic content, like design templates. So with that said, we're going to continue to bang out these marketing kits. It's probably been one of the most popular things we've ever done. And we're going to keep creating these. In fact, next Wednesday, we're releasing a face mask marketing kit that is awesome. Really excited about this one. In fact, there's going to be a guest webinar presenter. We're going to do a podcast. So really pumped up for this one. So what does a marketing kit consist of? Well, namely, as I mentioned, you get marketing copies. So we have amazing folks on our team that are gifted with, copywriting. So with that said, we're turning them loose on crafting marketing copy that you can copy and paste and deploy. And so again, we're pretending we're your marketing department, and these marketing kits give that messaging in support of the marketing strategy. Now, in this instance, for this notion of Here for Good and local community strong, we also give you access to some free graphic content. These are vector-based, production-ready graphics from our sister company, Digital Art Solutions. And you can buy more of this if you find value in this, but we're giving you access to a bunch of free content to help boost your local love, local community fundraising program. So this is all production ready, vector-based content, ready to roll and take full advantage of. So what we're going to do now, I want to share a few more things with you. And actually, this is a teaser because I'm not going to take your questions right now. There's a few more things I want to share with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second, and we're going to pivot here. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to share my browser here. I want to take you through a few more things before we get into Q&A. Namely, I want to share with you how the heck you can get access to the marketing kits that are on offer. So if you go to inksoft.com and if you click resources, what you can do then is at the very top, there's sort of an index here. You can read, see our webinar schedule. You can see new features, our podcast. What you want to do is click on marketing kits, and that's going to show you all the marketing kits that are available. And as mentioned, coming soon, how to sell custom branded face masks. Really excited about this one. But nonetheless, when you click on a marketing kit, you'll have the opportunity to access the marketing kit that is in fact associated. So usually at the top, there's an index. And when you click that index, it's going to take you down to register, and you'll get immediate access to the marketing kits for each of the various themed marketing kits. So really excited about delivering more of those in 21. We have some great ideas to add more value and enhance our marketing kits even further. Now, I wanted to share a few practical examples with you and bring some more attention to how you can execute some of these programs. First thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to an InkSoft customer, Extreme Graphics. These folks have been on a tear with supporting their local community. They've done an amazing job with social media promotion. I would encourage all of you to follow Extreme Graphics and check out the stories they're placing on Instagram, their Instagram feed. Some of this is really moving. It's just, I think, going to give you a lot of ideas about how you can position and present and why this is important. So make sure to follow Extreme Graphics. The other thing I want to point out is the web store, the InkSoft powered web store that Extreme Graphics is using as part of their Save Local program. There's a lot to learn from here. So what they're doing is they recognize there's various communities. There's Albany, there's Corvallis, there's Lebanon. So, here they actually have dedicated navigation for all the different sub-communities, maybe that are part of a greater community. So think about on your InkSoft powered web store, because you can create custom pages inside of InkSoft, and each page can have its own fundraising component. It can have, its own product mix, messaging. So this is a great way to go really big in your local community by serving all the sub-communities that really have their own messaging, right? Albany is a tight-knit community, and probably they compete, right, in high school sports against Corvallis. So they see themselves as slightly different. So I think like Save Oregon is a much more challenging proposition than focusing on these local communities, right? Because they are unique and distinct. And I can tell you, Scottsdale is much different from Paradise Valley, from Tempe, Arizona. Everybody has every community has their own unique personality, their own uniqueness, right? Altogether. So a lot to learn from this particular example from Extreme Graphics. One thing I love that they do is for every product, you can pick the business that you want to support. So I showed you earlier how it's possible to create a custom checkout field, which would take the entire purchase from a fundraising store and allocate a certain portion to a certain business. But with that said, Extreme Graphics, they're using a feature inside of InkSoft where you can have custom fields at the product level, and a consumer can say, hey, I'm going to make a custom donation, or I'm going to buy a specific product from this particular store, and I want my purchase to go to support my favorite craft brewery. Because my intention is to take this insulated, water bottle and fill it up and treat it like a growler, right? So I want that portion of my donation going to the brewery. So this is another way to deploy and allow consumers to really have control over which business they're supporting, right? So a few other things to consider here. Here's an example of we sort of built a prototype example of an InkSoft powered online fundraising store that would support this notion of boxes, merch boxes. So I'd encourage you to visit the blog that has this marketing kit, and you can see the example that we organized, right? So you can see some of the messaging that we're using here. You can see some of the box options, $49, $79, $99 option. You can see the individual products that are available a la carte. But principally, you can also see if you go add something to the checkout workflow, you'll notice here is that checkout prompt that would say, select the local business to receive a donation. So you can put sub-messaging, you make this required, and that's going to allow, again, a consumer to record which organization that they want to be the beneficiary of fundraising dollars. So with that said, we are going to take pause, and what I'm going to do now is we're going to turn back to your questions. So using the Zoom control panel, what I would encourage you to do is type in any questions. Feel free to leave comments. And with that said, what I'll do is read some of the questions aloud and do my best to answer those.